What I'm much more concerned about is not Democrats being woke or Democrats censoring speech. I'm much more concerned about Trump's record on those things. So, for example, Trump said he wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. That's against the First Amendment.
This is good. This is a good pathway forward. Stop entertaining the nonsense. Just point out the reality that, hey, by the way, if it is something that you care deeply about, if you're worried about censorship, 1984ing, wokeness, all that, then you should really look at the fact that Donald Trump is amongst some of the worst people in that category. Same thing with Elon Musk, right? Everyone on the internet right now is saying that Kyle Kulinski apparently bodied Piers Morgan, or Piss Morgan, as you probably know him better. And I wanted to see what all the hype's about.
What do they do to avoid this happening again in 4 years?
I mean, the simple answer is that Kamala Harris kind of codes as a technocratic status quo manager, and Trump codes as a change agent. And so, I mean, to sum it up as simply as possible, voters just thought he's going to deliver more change, she's more of the same, and they broke for him.
Who would you like to see run the party now? I mean, what's the future of the Democrats looking like to you?
Jon Stewart. I've been pushing that since the day Trump won this time around, because what we needed...
Kyle, for Jon Stewart to run, Jon Stewart has to both want to run and then run. He said multiple times he doesn't want to run. So you need an answer that's not just wish casting. There's lots of people that I would like to see that I think would have a lot of success. But I guess at this point, since shit is so silly, especially in America, I guess you do need a celebrity. You need just built-in brand recognition, like a franchise, you know? It's one of the things about buying a franchise. It's like, I'm kind of scared to open up my own sandwich store. But if you opened up a Subway, people already know that they're buying yoga mats and garbage, and that there's a yoga mat and garbage store just down the street. So you got built-in brand recognition. So I guess maybe that's just the future. Celebrities will rule the world and run the world. But if you're picking a celebrity, yes, Jon Stewart sounds like he's better than most, but you need someone who's going to want to do it, and he doesn't want to do it. I understand why, too, because you're pretty much permanently hated by half the country at best. At best, like that's the best case scenario, is half the country always hates you. Half the world, if it's America, like then the half the planet is like, that person is destroying everything.
Is honestly a controversial, charismatic celebrity might make all of the difference, but it's that mixed with Bernie Sanders' policies of actually delivering social democracy for people, raising their pay, getting them health care. I think that's the magic stew. And honestly, I think it's a shame that more people aren't talking about the controversial, charismatic celebrity portion of Trump being so successful, is that you can't keep the cameras off him. He's entertaining. Love him or hate him, you can't stop watching him. And so we need to sort of mirror that on the left. And I think the way of doing that is Jon Stewart.
But I would add to that what Bill Maher's been warning for a long time to liberals, speaking as a liberal himself. And I'm pretty much where he is politically, I think. I feel this.
I love how words don't have meaning anymore. It's gone from being annoying to enraging to infuriating to silly. Now it's just silly. Yeah, Bill Maher. Classical liberal, that Bill Maher.
Same way. And I know you've been keen to say, look, Kamala didn't mention any of these woke issues, whatever, but she's very much associated with a lot of those woke issues. She's certainly voting.
Like, just right there. Yeah, I think that maybe you associate her with all those woke issues because you associate that word with a lot of the things that she happens to be. A black woman, a multiracial woman, a woman. And it's like, well, yeah, but she is by definition woke, right? What do you mean? Oh, well, she is the things. What things? Can't probably say that, but I just believe that she was inherently woke. DI, bridge, CRT. This is what I've been taught to learn. This is liberalism.
In line with a lot of the more progressive stuff, like allowing transgender athletes in women's sport and so on. So she's seen to be a...
When did she say that on the campaign trail? When did she give a speech where she was like, and now one of the core tenets of my campaign and what I've spoken to Waltz about is that we are definitely going to be fighting at the forefront for trans women to participate in sports at every level. That is the cornerstone of our entire campaign. And that's why we keep saying it out loud over and over and over, and why everyone knows us for this.
Progressive who then moved rapidly to the centre when she got the nomination, and it was all too much of a screech for people, probably on both sides. But this whole woke ideology, I don't mean the original woke ideology of raising awareness for racial and social injustice. I mean the way it's become a kind of new form of fascism, where the far left just basically want to cancel, shame, and humiliate.
What is this shit? Honestly, I think this is something that only I think uniquely rich ass white men could have come to try and pass off as something serious, to be like, so I got to be honest with you. I'm against fascism, in all its iterations. Mussolini was bad. Hitler was bad as well. But I feel that there's a modern fascism that the left won't reconcile with, and that is the fascism of wokery. And that there is a new kind where, because there's wokeness, orthodoxy, and a set of rules and standards that everyone has to adhere to. You mean being nice and decent? Like being a decent person, not being a piece of shit? Yeah, you should do that just by virtue of growing up. Fucking babies? Like, what the fuck? Every time I hear that, yeah, they get really mad at you if you say the wrong word, the naughty word. Are you referring to the N-word? Yeah, as a non-black person, stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. Is it the F slur? Is that what you want to say? Do you want to kill all gay people? The F slur? Is that what you're just itching for? Well, yeah, but like you slip up once, and then all of a sudden, the cancel culture mob comes down on you, and then we all have to adhere to these rules. Isn't that what fascism is? I've been told by right-wing commentators.
Absolutely, anybody who disagrees with them about anything. Do you accept that has become a problem, a stick to beat the party with, which actually really damages them electorally?
Before he answers, I do want to say that you can honestly, of course, choose and pick your battles. If there's someone who has been fighting on the behalf of either ending oppression, civil rights, and they have said a sentence that you disagree with, rather than spending every single day creating videos, content, deeply researched video essays, podcasts on that one moment in time where they said that one sentence that wasn't properly worded, rather than the fact that at this moment in time they're currently putting forth legislation to uphold civil rights to the particular group that they've offended. Yes, I would say that is a waste of your resources and it's not productive compared to, hey, I'm going to target people at this moment in time who say the worst, most abhorrent shit all the time, because right now I want to focus on people who say terrible and abhorrent stuff. As a strategic idea, yes, one will be more beneficial to the other. As in, though, the way Piers is describing it, that there is like an inherent problem where at the end of the day, politicians on the left are unable to do anything that's outside of the orthodoxy. It's like, are you serious? People are still treated like shit, even by the very people who are supposed to be allies, or the very people who are supposed to stand up for like marginalized groups. They're still disrespected constantly. People who are supposed to be like, quote unquote woke allies to like the gay community, for example, but they happen to be straight men, oftentimes will have shows where all day they're just like, so what are y'all into? You like sucking each other off? Don't worry, I'm not a homophobe. I just think it's funny that like y'all, like, you have sex in your butts, right? That's funny, right? That's fucking hilarious, totally. But anyways, yeah, I think you should have equal rights. I think that like y'all should be allowed to like get married and shit. I just think it's really funny that there's like butt stuff. That's fucking hilarious, bro. I can't believe you'd suck a man's dick. That's so fucking weird. Anyways, I'm an ally. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the woke hour. And it's like, well, yeah, like honestly, even the people who are supposed to be helping each other out, they're not exactly what I would consider to be enlightened on all the topics. But hey, I would prefer that to the other dude's podcast where he's just straight up like, we need to go to their houses and we need to round them up and we need to get rid of these people because they're destroying society and it's disgusting, it's degenerate, it's satanic. Okay, well then yeah, I'm going to concentrate and focus on that person rather than like, the bro jock goofball who has not gotten over the fact that yes, people suck dick. Like, it's something that I'm guessing you probably want to have happen to you. You just don't want it to be a man who does it. But fine, laugh it up. But at the same time, we should focus on that other person who's actively trying to be like, I want to pass a bill that's going to restrict the rights of gay people to be able to enjoy their lives at the same level that everyone else does. Okay, fine. I will focus my attention on that one, sir.
No, I think Kamala ran basically the platonic ideal of a non-woke Democratic campaign. She never mentioned race. She never mentioned gender. She never mentioned trans people. She never mentioned pronouns or Latinx or cancel culture. She repeatedly stressed that she was going to represent all Americans. She ran to the right on the issue of the border. She talked about owning a gun.
Steve, good to see you. Everyone check out Steve_Boots. Thank you for the raid. And if you wanted some Canadian coverage of Canadian issues, Steve usually does really good topics on that stuff. And also, Steve, if you want to watch my coverage of the cyclone bomb that just hit my part of the world here in Canada, you can roll back on the VOD. We just got a cyclone bomb. don't worry, Vancouver was spared. They just went after the island. Those evil cyclones did.
Ran on freedom and patriotism. And so when you put all that stuff together, I simply don't know what people are talking about when they say she's
well, they're
too woke.
talking about
She
her
didn't mention
record.
those things at
Well,
all.
hang on. They're talking about her record as vice president of the Biden administration, where they never stopped talking about this stuff for nearly 4 years. So you can pretend when you get the nomination.
What are you talking about? When? Like the day of, hey, by the way, it happens to be Pride Month, or hey, by the way, it happens to be, like it is today, Trans Day of Remembrance. There's going to be a pre-written post on social media, most likely by Democratic politicians, who say today on Trans Day of Remembrance, we'd like to offer our condolences to members of the trans community who have lost anybody because of the incredibly high rates of suicide, because of the incredibly high rates of violence, especially violence towards trans youth. We'd like to do what we can. You're going to get that. And that's about it. For the rest of the year, they're not sitting down for interviews like, so, Mr. Biden, we'd like to ask you, what is of your primary concern for your administration?
Whoa, I'm a centrist. I'm a gun-toting Rambo, by the way, as well, to all you Second Amendment people. But actually, if you judge her on what she said and did in 4 years, she was a progressive left person. And to pretend otherwise is to just ignore what went on in that period.
What I'm much more concerned about is not Democrats being woke or Democrats censoring speech. I'm much more concerned about Trump's record on those things. So, for example, Trump said he wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. That's against the First Amendment. He sued CNN for $475 million for calling election denialism the big lie. Before he was president, he sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a joke. He said he wants to open up the libel laws. He called for jailing journalists who report on the Supreme Court abortion ruling early before the decision.
How many of those things did he do in his first term?
Pro-Palestine protesters.
How many of those things did he?
This is good. This is a good pathway forward. Stop entertaining the nonsense, because it is. It's fucking, you got Piers Morgan here, and within, 30 seconds, he's just spewing a Dr. Seuss book, right? Hey, but what about the Weebles and Jeebles and Bibbly Beebles? And you're like, well, okay, so I could either play defense right now and stand there and be like, that's actually just categorically untrue. This was not a core part of the Harris-Biden administration. They did not spend every waking moment that they were, active passing legislation. Fuck all that. There's nothing you can do to appease, again, people who are just going to spew nonsense like that and believe it. And honestly, his Overton window is so fucked up and, drenched in old men cum dust that, he's not going to be able to actually have an enlightened, good faith discussion on this topic. So, yeah, just point out the reality that, hey, by the way, if it is something that you care deeply about, if you're worried about censorship, 1984ing, wokeness, all that, then you should really look at the fact that Donald Trump is amongst some of the worst people in that category. Same thing with Elon Musk, right? You could do the exact same thing when you're often posed with that question that they love to say, why is it that apparently on the woke left, you are all obsessed with trans people? That's something that's really fucked up, that the right are actually the ones obsessed with trans people. If you look at the studies done on this, it seems like the right post about trans topics more than trans people post about trans topics. They're the ones completely obsessed about that. Okay, fine. But what about the fact that all of you want to put little boys in little girls' bathrooms or make little girls have to go into little boys' sports teams? It's actually the right that want to treat little boys like little girls and little girls like little boys. I want to treat little girls like little girls, and I want to treat little boys like little boys and have them be safe and secure at school, not put them in danger, not put them in positions where they could potentially be hurt, where they could potentially hurt others, stuff of that nature. I think we should treat boys like boys and girls like girls. It's the right that are completely fucked up in this respect. I don't know why they're so obsessed with this. You might want to check their browser history, but they won't let you, will they? Either way, it's all true. It's all true. They're the ones who want to misgender people. They're the ones who want to treat women like men and men like women. They're the ones who want to treat boys like girls and girls like boys. That's the right. The right are the ones who are obsessed with trans folk, who can't stop posting about them, tweeting about them, making videos about them, and a lot of the pundits too, because they realized, wow, that they're so obsessed with trans people, my audience is, that I'm going to start talking about them a lot more than I ever did. I barely knew about this topic 10 years ago, but now I have to make videos on them, talk about them, make all this kind of shit. And then you get people like this moment here, Piers Morgan. It's like, that's basically all that the Biden-Harris administration was about, right? It was just about trans people. That's all they ever talked about. That's all they ever, did in terms of trying to pass legislation. Again, just objectively ridiculous, Dr. Seuss stuff, but fine. You know, treat them like a one's it or a who's it or and whatever they're called, and then don't acknowledge the nonsense he wants to go down. Look what immediately happened. As soon as Kyle was like, if you're worried about censorship, I really got to tell you that it's kind of fucked up that Donald Trump wants to put people in jail for burning the American flag, something protected under our Constitution. I love freedom. I love free speech, and the fact that guy wants to take it away from me feels kind of unpatriotic to me, don't you think? It's also kind of unpatriotic that he wants to sell the entire country over to the oligarchs. I mean, he wants to have the super rich, the incredibly rich and wealthy, the elites. I don't know if you've heard of these people, the elites. They're evil, and these elites, they want to control everything, and he wants to give them unfettered access to power. Fuck that noise. As a proud American, and this is, speaking about Kyle, he's got a flag in the background, but honestly, weaponize all this shit against them. Stop playing their fucking games. Immediately after Kyle did that, Pierce is on the defense now. He just switched the board, and all of a sudden Pierce is the one standing there and be like, okay, well, what do you have to say about this then?
Do in his first term, because it seems to me another problem, and he does this brilliantly, by the way, with the left. He sucks you in. Because he just shoots them a hip and he says stuff that crosses his mind or whatever. And rather than pick him off on stuff he actually does, you all go completely nuts every time he opens his mouth and says something a bit crazy. And if I was advising the Democrats, I'd be like, stop doing this. You're literally playing into his trap every time you do this. Just pick him off on the stuff he actually does. Then you got a better chance.
All right, I'll do that. Here, ready? He gag ordered.
That's literally what Kyle just did, by the way. Kyle's like, hey, I have very specific policies and issues that I take a lot of concern with when it comes to Donald Trump. Here's 4. And then immediately he's like, okay, but you liberals, you're so obsessed immediately if he opens his mouth or if you become cancel culture. Welcome in 1987 or something to that effect. And it's like, all right, fine. Here's more.
The EPA from telling the truth on climate change. That's deeply anti-free speech. He arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting. He did not pardon Assange. He did not pardon Snowden. He did not pardon Daniel Hale. He wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy the U.S. to deploy our own troops against George Floyd protesters. These are all things that are actually on the record, things he actually did. And the thing that I find incredibly frustrating is that nobody talks about it. Trump magically gets a pass for things he actually did.
He doesn't get
Democrats
a pass.
get held to a super high standard.
Come on, he doesn't get a pass.
How many times have you heard people say those things I just told you? Wait.
Hang on. Let me answer you. Trump has had the most unrelentingly hostile media from a mainstream media that is largely staffed by liberals. We know this, because the way they all go nuts when their paper wouldn't come out and endorse Kamala, and they all resign, so they reveal their true colours. Cable news the same, MSNBC, CNN, you can fire a harpoon around their newsrooms and you wouldn't hit a conservative, right? So let's just get real about the way mainstream media is made up. I've worked in it, and there are very few conservatives.
Once again, you could also challenge that immediately. Like, you don't have to sit there and be like, all right, well, I'm going to acknowledge what you're saying is totally true, that the mainstream media is controlled by the woke left and that they have all the power and that they control everything. And that's part of, I'm going to acknowledge what you're saying is factual. He, again, lives in a different world. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, him being what most other countries would define as a right-wing conservative commentator, not a centrist liberal of the classic variety, but for him the world is completely skewed, the Overton windows on the other side of the fence,
and that is part of the problem as well. And I just think that ultimately, if the Democrats are going to try and make themselves electable, they've got to move wholesale on now to a far more effective way of campaigning. And it can't just be every time Donald Trump speaks, mass hysteria, shaving your head, going on TikTok and posting videos of yourself screaming and saying you'll never have sex with a Trump supporter again. All this stuff is insane.
How about just telling the truth? Wait. How about just telling the truth? That's a radical idea, right? When was the last time you heard that Trump arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting? Who talked about that? Did CNN talk about that? Did MSNBC talk about that? Did you talk about that?
Nice. I was about to say, did you? Yeah. Start pointing the finger.
Nobody talks about it. And the fact of the matter is Trump attacks Democrats 4 times as hard as they attack him.
Yeah.
So if anything, the lesson to take away is the
opposite. Yes. I am a living joke. It's true.
Democrats should get more arrogant, they should get more aggressive, and they should tell the truth more.
Come on, Kyle. You know that would be utter suicide.
No, that's the truth.
You know what? You wouldn't be as good at it as he is, because he does it with humor. You lot all do it with these incredibly straight-faced, virtue-signaling, I'm outraged by absolutely everything faces. And it's like, if you all just chilled out a bit, have a bit of Kool-Aid, have a bit of a laugh.
That's why I said Jon Stewart.
Death by mockery. Well, actually, you're right.
By the way, he acts as if he's like this super chill guy, right? He's like, hey, come on, y'all can't even take a joke. You know, you don't have a sense of humor anymore. I was just here and I had a whole bunch of racist jokes, transphobic jokes. I wanted to tell them, and all of you all just suddenly get a little bit offended, and then you all want to cancel me, and then you honestly, that's the problem with you. You just can't take a joke. When he was called a racist by Cornel West, did you see how fast he lost his shit? How like what little you know shade of pink red in his face suddenly evaporated, you know, and then all of a sudden he just turned completely translucent, and he was just, how dare you, I'm not racist, no one could say that word to me, the R word. Like, he got so mad, so big mad, and it was true. Like, the call out by Cornel West, it was like, he's like, honestly, you just think that Israeli lives are more valuable than Palestinian lives. And that belief fundamentally at its core is racist. You're racist. That's all he had to say. He wasn't, you know, going through the list of all the racist shit he's ever done. He wasn't talking about all the times he's been exceptionally racist to different public figures, or his strange hypersexual fixation on the monarchs and the royalty and all that kind of stuff. He didn't have to go through any of that kind of shit, right? He didn't have to be like, Piers, it does genuinely seem like, given the opportunity, you would suck the king's dick. And not even do it for, you know, sexual reasons. You would think it was your duty, like you're duty bound for some reason to have to fulfill his desires, whatever they may be. You don't have nothing like that, but just, I gotta be honest with you. If you think that it's okay to starve Palestinian kids in very large numbers and not be held accountable for that, but you don't feel that way about other groups of people, you're a racist. And he wasn't chill then. At that moment in time, there was no more like, oh, well, you leftists simply just aren't a lot of fun. You know, you're not down with a little ribbing, a little good old ribbing. You say.
Stuart gets exactly the right tone. On that, I agree with you.
That's right. Yeah,
we
agree. Yeah,
I agree. Let's bring in Nina Turner and the rest of the panel. Nina, you floated that Rahm Emanuel as a new DNC chair would be a good signal that the Democrat Party is only there for the donor class. Many other people would say that Rahm Emanuel's a very effective political operator. But actually, the Democrats need a bit of that muscle now.
Oh, that's the end of it. Yeah, that's great. Good job, Kyle. I understand why a lot of people were pointing and highlighting these clips and putting them on the internet this morning, and why a lot of people were like, wow, Kyle did a great job on Piers. Absolutely. Stop playing into their game. Stop playing into the rhetorical traps that, again, assholes like Piers Morgan are going to set up. Again, like, if you have just a pile of sentient cum like this man is, you're not going to expect much outside of he's just going to try and rope you into the same things. It's like, you know, you lefties, you're obsessed with cancel culture. You're obsessed with wokeness, and honestly, we have to be honest here. The cornerstones of the Harris and the Biden administration have been just their unadulterated support of trans people. It's all they ever talk about. It's their only policy positions, and that just really hurt them. So going forward, what do you have to say about any of that? And I mean, to sit there and be like, nothing you have said is correct, and then just give in to what he's trying to set up versus what Kyle's doing here, which is flip the whole thing. It's like, honestly, Piers, if you're a proud patriot, but if you care deeply about America, you care about American values, you care about free speech, I'm guessing as a journalist that's probably important to you, you care about censorship, then I should tell you that there's no one who's engaging in more censorship right now than, say, someone like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is adhering to more, foreign governments, fascistic governments, far-right governments' requests to censor content on the platform than the previous administration. That's really fucked up. Honestly, I wish he wasn't giving in to everything that Modi is asking him to do over in India and suppressing, vulnerable minorities who are trying to speak out about how they're being persecuted. That's really fucked up that, Elon Musk wants to censor people's speech. It's really fucked up that he's now suppressing a lot of liberal and left-wing accounts on the platform because he wanted to turn it into a right-wing MAGA echo chamber. And honestly, I mean, the guy just loves censoring. He loves censorship. He hates free speech. Personally, you can see the American flag in the background going on there as a proud patriot. Like honestly, the playing by their games and by their rules has been doing absolutely nothing, because all Piers is doing is what every right-wing commentator does: lie. Just lie all day. That's all they got. Lying.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/The Serfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Poppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwynn, Sebastian Demmel, Travis McClinton, Trincel, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here